So for today's tutorial, I drew inspiration from a design I saw online to bring you all a tutorial on how to place yourself in an 80s vectors pattern. We're going to first make a pattern in Adobe Illustrator, and then we're going to cross over to Photoshop to show you how to cut yourself out of an image professionally and then place it on a document for a 4K resolution. So first in Adobe Illustrator, we want a large 4K document here too, so take note of the pixel dimensions that I'm using and use them for your design. So here is our canvas that we're going to be working on today for an 80s style pattern design. Now choose a bright or bold purple colour in the colour palette as a fill, and then press M for the rectangle tool. Oh, and also you want to activate your smart guides, and here are my settings that I'm using today. The smart guides will show you when you are perfectly positioned in the corner of the canvas. So cover the artboard and then send the rectangle to the back and lock it down in place. Keeping with the 80s style theme, choose a bright and bold yellow colour and then press P for the pen tool. We will carefully draw a segment like so using the pen tool. Then select a bright and bold deep pink and then draw in another segment with the pen tool to add to the 80s style design. Later we're going to be tackling the halftone process as well as using clipping mask in Illustrator for parts of the design. But for now, go ahead and draw a straight line perfectly like so. Select off of the line and then press C for the scissors tool and click to add an anchor point right here. We can then select the top section of this line and delete it as it's now two parts. Access the pen tool again and continue drawing the line like so until you've made a third shape for your 80s style pattern. Select everything apart from the new shape by holding down Shift and then lock it down. So essentially you have the new triangle only activated on your canvas. I'm also going to add a white stroke to it so I can easily see it on the design. Away and off of the canvas, use the pen tool and hold down Shift to draw a perfectly straight line, and then beef it up a bit by increasing the stroke weight. Hold down the Alt Option key and duplicate this line once, and then press Command or Control D to repeat the process over and over again. Outline the stroke of all the lines so they're turned from a vector stroke path into a vector shape. You'll want to add a deep dark purple to your set of lines. And actually I'm unlocking my design so I can change the leftmost shape's colour, as I want it to match with the line's colour in harmony. You'll see what I mean very shortly. So if you're enjoying today's tutorial, give the video a thumbs up and also share it on social media after you finish watching. Also, I'm making adjustments to the pink shape here, and I'm adding an anchor point with this tool so I can actually use the direct selection tool to manipulate the shape further. Now that I'm happy with the composition, I will again lock everything apart from the white line triangle. Select all of the lines and then open up the Pathfinder window and use the Unite option before rotating them slightly. From here, flick the triangle from a stroke to a fill and then turn it into a compound path. Place the triangle over the set of lines and then select everything. You can now right or control click the selection and use a clipping mask. Now you can overlay this part of the design onto your canvas. Now we're going to make the halftone effect, which will represent the dots as you can see on the far right of the design. So grab the ellipse tool with L on your keyboard and then hold down Shift and click and drag to make a circle. Add a gradient fill and leave it as a black to white gradient, but the gradient window you should add a radial gradient and change it so the black area is inside the middle. Then go up to Effect, Pixelate and choose Color Halftone. In the new box that appears, the first top number is the size of your dots, and the rest you need to keep the same. I'm going to use 90 for my numerals. And if like mine the dots are too small, go back and change the first number, or you can do this in the Appearance panel. This is actually now a bitmap rather than a vector, so to change that, first go up to Object, Image Trace and Make, and then open up the Image Trace window with the shape still selected. We want to ignore white and then click preview to see the changes. Now you're going to have to play around with your settings, but I've realised it's near enough impossible to get all of the circles perfectly round. The smaller ones can become distorted. I've actually looked online about the halftone method to check if I'm doing something wrong, but everybody else out there on YouTube has said the same with this method. But once you're happy, go up to Object, Image Trace and Expand. Then ungroup everything and delete the white background. If there are still white areas left over like so, use the Magic Wand tool to select all black areas and then drag them off to the side. If you press Command or Control G on your keyboard, you're going to group the selection together. Now use the eyedropper tool, the keyboard shortcut being I on your keyboard, and then sample the yellow colour from your design. It's just a case of placing your dots on the 80 style pattern where you feel they fit best. Once you've done that, grab the rectangle tool and draw a box around the canvas carefully. Switch it to a fill and then turn it into a compound path. Select the box and the dots together and then right or control click the selection and again create a clipping mask. You can expand and ungroup the dots so you can then delete the deformed sections and draw in your own circles manually depending on how well your image trace went. Now we're going to move over to Photoshop for the next part of this tutorial. So here's a picture of yours truly, and try to snap a picture of yourself with a high quality resolution for maximum results, because our design is going to be 4K, remember. So create a new document with the 4K measurements, and keep the color mode to RGB, seeing as this is going to be a web-based graphic. Back over to Illustrator, unlock your design and then select everything and press Command or Control C to copy it. Then you can paste it into Photoshop with Command or Control V. We want to use the Smart Object to maximize quality. Once you've positioned it, press Enter and then drag your image onto the 80 style pattern design. There are many ways to cut out a person from a background in Photoshop, but today we're going to be using a layer mask to ensure non-destructive workflow. You will find the layer mask at the bottom of the layers panel here. You simply then press B for the brush tool, and then using the black colour you can paint over the background. You need to take your time with this, And at first, use a large brush to remove most of the background, and then as you get closer to yourself in the image, use a smaller brush with a soft setting. If you make a mistake, just switch the black to a white and then paint over the areas that you want to add back in. We're almost finished with today's 80 style patterns tutorial, and I've got one final touch to add. Open the gradient slider here and create a gradient of a kind of peach colour to a vibrant pink. Then create a new layer and name it something like gradient. You simply then draw across the layer like so with the gradient tool. Duplicate this layer with Command or Control J, and then change the blend mode of one layer to screen and change the other blend mode to overlay. Lower and adjust the opacity of these two layers until you're happy with your design. Finally, I've added some text that I feel works best with an 80 style design. You can check on screen for the fonts in case you want to download them and use them for yourself. So this has been an 80 style pattern design tutorial which you can place yourself into, brought to you by Satori Graphics. So there is today's tutorial on the 80 style pattern in Adobe Illustrator. What did you guys think of today's video? Are you going to go ahead yourself and recreate these patterns in Adobe Illustrator? If you really found it useful, share it on social media so other people can see it and you can spread more awareness about what I'm doing here at Satori Graphics. And subscribe to my channel for weekly graphic design content. Until next time, design your future today. Peace.